Hi everyone, my name is Melissa Dennis and I am your librarian today. I want to show you several different ways to use the library to help you find sources for your papers. So in this video, we're going to look at CQ Researcher, which is a database on the library's website. So I'm going to share my screen with you. Always start at the library's website to find your resources. This is libraries.olemiss.edu. If you go down to the middle of the page, under databases, we're going to go to the letter C for CQ Researcher. I'm going to scroll down this page to find it, sort of at the bottom, and click on it. Now I'm already logged into the library's resources, so at this time you will probably get a login page. That login is always your Ole Miss web ID and password. It's not a separate library login. So whatever you use to log in to get to My Ole Miss, that's what you will log in to use the library resources. This is because all of these resources cost a lot of money and you've already paid up through the university as long as you are a student here. So go ahead and just log in and get to this page. So now that we're here in CQ Researcher, let's see what's going on. So CQ Researcher is a database that we have that helps you find reports on really controversial topics, really good for argument topics. You can see under the hot topics in the middle of the page that they tackle some really big global issues like abortion, climate change, gun control, terrorism, right? Things that are really large that you could write books about. Your paper is really small, and the issues that you want to argue are probably a lot smaller than these really, really big topics. However, CQ Researcher is a wonderful place to go and read some of these reports to see how they argue their topics. CQ Researcher presents viewpoints from many sides, which is really important when you're writing your papers. You need a lot of different viewpoints to talk about your issue. So the middle of the page has the featured report. Now this will change a lot. I think they change it a couple of times a month actually. So the new one here is from August 28th, but in a couple of weeks this may change. So whatever their newest report is, that just shows up here in the middle. The one they have right now is talking about work and if the pandemic will permanently alter the workplace, which is something I'm really interested in, and I may come back later and actually look at that. But for you, you have already brainstormed some topics and you have an idea of what you want to look for. So there's a couple of different ways you can start searching here in CQ Researcher. You could look under Browse Reports and go to the Pro-Con section. You could just look through these large topics to try to figure out what they have talked about using the pros and cons approach, which is a really focused way to do that. You can also check by date to see, well, what are the most recent reports that they've written on? What are those topics? Is something on here something that I'm also looking at? And that may be a really quick way to do that. They also just have a general browse topics where you can explore all of these larger areas and drill down. At the top, they even have a way to search by keyword. So I'm just going to do that today. I've been looking at cyberbullying a lot. I have a son in high school, and a lot of the shows that we watch talk about cyberbullying as an issue, which is something that, of course, I didn't experience growing up. Regular bullying, yes, but cyberbullying was not around way back in the day. So looking at issues that talk about bullying and cyberbullying, you can see CQ Researcher wrote a report in February of 2018 that looks at both of those issues. This is why I always encourage students to use CQ Researcher, because some topic that you have that you've been bouncing around in your head, you may come here and find that they've written reports that are exactly on this topic. And it's a really great way to jumpstart your research. So I'm definitely going to look at that one, but I'm also noticing the one underneath this other report called Suicide Crisis was written a little bit later. It was in last July. And we know that sometimes bullying and suicide go hand in hand, unfortunately. I'm going to click on this one first because I want to show you that sometimes the title of a report may not seem to obviously fit what you're looking for. So if you click on a report like this, again, these are reports. So they're not just an article. It's not just a little chapter in a book. These are really, really, really long, okay? But the good news is they're all on one web page. So you can just hit Control F or Command F if you're on a Mac on your computer to use this pop-up find button. So I did Control F since I'm on a Windows laptop. And I'm gonna look here for my keyword, and it's going to jump to 5 different sections in this huge report where they specifically address cyberbullying. So I may not even need to read any of the rest of this report. I may want to copy and paste and use some of this phrasing directly here in this small section that addresses what I'm looking at. And you can see that they cite everything using these tabs, using these numbers, which is perfect. That's exactly what you want to see, is where they're getting their information from. So I'm actually going to go up here to the top of this report and email this back to myself. Anytime you find something that you could possibly use later, you want to definitely go in and email it to yourself. Now, CQ Researcher thinks that you want to email these to everyone, so you do have to type your email address in twice here and hit send email. Now, when you do that, you'll get an email from CQ Researcher in your Gmail, but also it will link you back to this page, so you don't have to come back and find it. Remember that anything that you use, you will have to cite. So the Cite Now button, using these quotes, shows you the APA version first, but you can also use the MLA version, which I believe is what you need for this class. So you can go ahead and copy and paste this into your Works Cited section. So anything that you use from another source, you need to be able to keep up with the citation information. So after you've emailed this report to yourself, you can come back to this page and use that citation anytime. Now remember, there was another one that showed up that looked really good as well. And maybe you don't have a lot of time when you're doing this research. You may be in between classes. That's okay. That's another good reason to do a preliminary search like this and then email these things to yourself so you have time maybe later that you can read them and open them. Also, sometimes these pages are a little slow, as you can see, to open. So I know that my topic is the topic of this entire report. So I'm definitely going to email this entire thing to myself. But I just want to click on the pro-con section. You can see it has its own table of contents on the left. So if I click here on pro-con, then I can see how they drilled this big topic down into one question. So the pro-con here for this particular report, you can see it's taken a minute to figure it out which page to go to. They already broke it down here a little bit. Are schools doing enough to protect victims? So the pro-con, which finally opened, says, should schools be required to intervene when students cyberbully other students off campus? And they have one expert in the field here, Dr. Patchen, who agrees that the school should do more. And they have one expert here also in the field, Dr. Stone, who thinks that this is not going to work out, that that's not the best way to handle this. So this is what I mean about finding multiple viewpoints. And the pro-con section is always generally pretty short, and these are these people's direct opinions. So that could be really useful to back up your argument, whatever your argument is, to have someone who may agree with you and someone who may disagree. So that's really important to look at. It's also really nice to see how they broke up a really big topic into a smaller topic and then into a very direct question here. So again, I'm going to email this entire report, full report, back to myself because I'm definitely going to want to look at this later if I'm using this as my topic. So that is basically how to use CQ Researcher, to use the keyword search, or to use the browsing by date or the browsing by the pro-con to try to see if a report has been written in the last couple of years that could be really helpful for your topic. All right, so I'll see y'all next time.